Hello everybody. Hi Liana, Renea, Krista, Judy, and Beth. So, I am going to actually dedicate this live to a friend of mine who passed away in August last year. Some of you might remember her. Her name was Deborah Rice, and she was one of the sweetest persons I've met in my life. And she was diagnosed in December with one of the most aggressive brain tumors. And anyway, a few months before she died, she mailed me these earrings that she had from her and one of her two best friends. She lived in Oregon. Over there, and she said that she could only find one of each, both for her and her friend. And she asked me if I could figure out how this cane was made. And it's very easy for me to see that it's a variant of the barbed cane. Hi Ellen. So I'm going to try and reconstitute this thing, and the earrings that I'm going to make, I'm going to mail them to her two friends in Oregon, just to remember her by. So let's see. First of all, and if you ask why I didn't do it at the time, it was because she was already, her health was already failing. You can imagine that with a brain tumor, she didn't, she had surgery and radiation, but it came back really aggressive, and having a brain tumor affecting her brain, pretty large one, she wasn't really all together, and she was in an assisted living. So I just didn't want to stress her out that she couldn't do crafting anymore, you know. So I'm going to do this because the anniversary of 1 year of her passing away is going to be soon. Anyway, so I first had to figure out what the colors were, and by what I can see here, there's obviously it's a white, and the color has bleeded a little bit in it. Hello Space Oddity. Yeah, she was wonderful, but you know, glioblastomas are the worst, the most unforgiving cancers. Like, it's like the pancreatic cancer. You're gone in the blink of an eye. Anyway, so I've been trying to figure out which of these colors were used, and it's obviously this is way too blue. So this is the Lagoon, and by the way, it's a discontinued color. So if you, I think that Trish still has some. If you go on PolyClay Play and you look, I'll give you the link. She's got a sale on all discontinued. No, she's out of Lagoon. What she still has of the discontinued colors is the Premo Periwinkle and the Premo Rhino Gray. So that was another reason why I kind of gave up on the Lagoon. It would have been an interesting experiment, but it's not the same, definitely not the same color. Then I tried the Jade, and if you ask me, I knew it was souffle that was used here. The Jade was almost it, but it's still a little bit more bluish. So the color that I think this was made with is sea glass, the souffle sea glass, Also, it's obvious that there was a little bit of darkening, so at the end of the Skinner blend, there was just a pinch of black added to the sea glass. Yeah, she was an absolute sweetheart, and people who have known her know exactly what I'm talking about. So I have here some white, and this is fairly old souffle. I could have done the Skinner blend ahead of time, but I thought, let me just show how to manipulate this kind of stuff when you don't know exactly what was used and you try to deconstruct something. And my sponsors know that I'm a master of deconstructing. I can tell you at a glance how something was made, because we had quite a few fun sponsor lives with deconstructing various things, including mokumeganes and canes and things like that. Okay, this one was not very well cut, and I suspect that this one is going to get a little bit crumbling. So in order to get this to cane conditioning, I'm going to first get just one of the slices through the machine. And I'm on the thickest setting, and I'm going to hold my hand under the rollers to make sure that if there's any kind of crumble, I'm going to catch it. I'm going to go one lower. So it doesn't seem to be very dry. It still is fairly dry. So I guess I'm going to try and condition it first as is. In just a second. So see here it started crumbling. It's a little crumbly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my already done on a thinner setting, and always start with a small piece of the clay you're trying to condition. Don't go with all of it, it's not a good idea, and don't stick it in the pasta machine right after you've put the clay softener on it, because it's going to start sliding and going wonky. It's pretty much the way to condition any polymer clay except Pardo, because Pardo is a little bit more. And by the way, if you don't know what a barbed cane is, let me get you the link. So you can watch the tutorial. And it is with colors that are not very different from what I'm making right now. Okay, let me zoom the pattern so you can see it better. got a little bit. They were varnished, as you can see. The sanding is not very good. And well, Deborah was an elderly lady with a lot of issues with her hands. So, I mean, it's so uneven that I even got some Finnegan hair on it. But this is the pattern. And I had told her, whenever you have, you better don't sand, better just use the varnish because it's too hard on your hands. So, okay, let's get back to conditioning. And as you can see, I didn't put it through the pasta machine yet. I'm working it a little bit directly on the table, and this is just for the first slice. The other ones will work just fine. But if you don't do this, you're going to, if you try to put the clay directly in the machine after you have added a clay softener, first of all, your clay is going to start going like this because it will have surfaces that slide on the rollers, and then not only that, but it's going to start crumbling. If you have a lot of experience with conditioning clay, you know that the moment you add an unconditioned slice to a conditioned sheet, it's going to kind of crumble it right where the unconditioned slice is. So I'm going to just do this here. After I do this, everything will go much faster. And on the first slice, you need to add a little bit more clay softener than you would normally add for that amount of clay. And you saw I added quite a generous amount of clay softener. And I'm doing this until the surface of the clay is not shiny anymore from the clay softener. And you can see, because it is so much clay softener, there it leaves a lot of the pigment on the tile. So I think I'm pretty good right now. Let's try and see. Now I'm going to go ahead and add even more, because obviously this is not even enough of what I'm intending, so I still have little flaky areas, so I want it to be even softer than this. So even more clay softener. And now I'm going to work on it a little bit faster so I don't hold you too much. Oops. And you can see it slides even on the tile. You can imagine what it does in the pasta machine. Just work on it. See the flakiness? It goes all over the place. If you ask why don't you get it in your arm, in your hands and knead it, because I don't want to. I don't want to dirty my hands. There's no reason to do that. Hello, Linda. How are you guys doing? How's the situation where you are with the weather and the pandemic and the earthquakes? Because I saw there was a 5.1 earthquake, and I think it was in North Carolina. Hi, Martina. It was in North Carolina, not South Carolina, right? But as I was looking, because every morning I look at the weather and then I look at earthquakes, And I thought today is a very weird day because Switzerland, of all countries, had an earthquake while Japan didn't have any. I mean, where are we going? This is the weirdest thing. Okay. And I'm not gonna make a huge cane unless one of you wants it, but honestly, I'm not shipping any canes right now because it's very hot, and I don't know how it is where you are, but even with thermal insulation, I kind of avoid shipping canes between like end of June and middle of September, because I don't want people to receive baked canes, you know. So unless one of you speaks for this cane, I'm not gonna make it very large. Okay, so now I should be okay, and I'm going to start adding of this other clay. So that is what I wanted to show you, the flaking, when you mix a good conditioned sheet with a non-conditioned sheet. And now I'm going to fasten this all up. I'm going to decrease the setting. Properly. If I fold it, there's no crack here. Yeah, maybe. Okay, now the next one. As I keep adding, it won't flake so much because the amount of non-conditioned clay is going to get smaller and smaller compared to the amount of conditioned clay. wondering, this is why you don't remove your fenders. Because if you remove your fenders and you try to, if you remove your fenders and you try to condition clay that was not conditioned before, and you do this kind of stuff, the flakes are going to start flying all over the place. There's a reason why the fenders are there. Okay. Okay, so again, it's conditioned, no crack. When I open, no crack. Remember the testing. Okay, and let me place the last of the piece, and I'm going to, the last of the piece, I'm going to first roll it with the roller because it's so crumbly, and then I'm going to put it in the machine. When it's so much, it's going to be a little bit of a pain, but this will be the final. Okay, we are good to go. When I was talking about testing to see if it's conditioned, in a couple of my how to condition clay tutorials, I showed that your best bet is condition, 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 and then first of all fold and check at the fold if it cracks or not, and even if it doesn't crack at the fold, open it and check at the opening if it cracks, because when it's almost conditioned, it will not crack at the fold here, but it will crack at the fold inside. So once again, don't go by the edges, the raggy edges, because some clay brands like Fimo, for example, you can condition them to smithereens and they will still have ragged. Always it's this that shows you if it needs more or not, and as you can see, this one does need more. And no, it does not run drier. It just has a different feel to it. It's pretty much more or less like a suede feeling. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit because it feels to me like it doesn't have enough plasticizer. And again, I'm going to first work a little bit on the tile. And only after that, because as you can see, the clay softener is going to start seeping out. And once it seeps out and it gets on the rollers, that's when it starts going, oh. But yeah, when souffle is beautiful for organic canes like this, but you don't want to try to do geometric canes with it just because it's so soft. Most of the time when you have fresh souffle, you'd only have to pass it through the machine a couple times to condition it. It's such a soft and almost ready to work with. But no matter how soft a clay feels when you get it out of the package, never work with it without conditioning it, because you need to mix the plasticizers in it properly, evenly. Otherwise, any area where there's not enough plasticizer is going to become a weak point that might break. And as you can see, it starts flaking again because there are areas where there's more plasticizer and areas where the clay is a little bit drier. Okay, and now doing it about 10 times should do the trick. Maybe 15, but I think that 10 should be fine. Be good, and I'm gonna get it to the thicker setting now. Let's check it. It still has a little bit of break-in, but it's fine for me right now because it's going to get a lot more conditioning when I'm doing the Skinner blend. Okay, now let me grab the white, and I'm going to give it a run through the machine just in order to do the measuring. Okay, so looking at this, the way that I'm measuring, this would be pretty much here would end. If I take this section, it would be about 1/3 whitish of 2/3 color. So if I have 1/3 whitish to 2/3 color, let's see, where's my square? I go to, let's place this back. And remember, no matter how you store your clay, unless you just worked with it within the last 2 hours, you always have to condition it, because you'll have those plasticizer and PVC particles moving by themselves and they will not be conditioned anymore. Okay, so I said 1 part versus 2 parts, but I'm going to give it a little bit of leeway where the colors come together. So normally I would have to do, because this is a strong color, normally I would have to get 4 parts of sea glass, and I'm going to get 3 for now. I'm going to keep this if I need to change it in any way. So and I'm going to give it just a little shred of black at the very end, and I'm going to taper it a little bit. And this will be it. Now let's make it straight. This is my diamond Skinner blend method. And I want to get it all nice and together. And then I'm going to fan it. I'll probably have to do a little bit of V-fold to bring more of the sea glass into the white, but let's go ahead and do it and see how that looks like. And then I'm going to roll it to hasten the mixing. I don't want the stuff to go there right now. Getting on thinner and thinner setting. And then rolling again. Otherwise, without the rolling, you'd have to go through the machine maybe like 40 times, but rolling speeds up forming the gradient, because instead of just 2 folded sheets you will have several. It's a Makins, and Makins is an 180 millimeters. And hi, Lila. Okay, Renea. Okay. So I'm going to do 2 more rolls and then start doing it the normal way and see if I need to add, if I need to start V-folding and if I need to add more black. And at this point I kind of want to get my whole thing be more equal, so I'm going to first fold it and then roll it. Okay, this is really irritating me. Trying to keep it narrow for now. And at this point I can tell that I need a little bit more black. Not a lot, a little bit. Hi, Gayleen. So let me add a pinch. And 1 more roll and then I'll start the regular folding. I did the exact same thing that I did before, that's why I didn't switch yet to the machine. And as I said, now it will see, because see, I still have a little bit too much white here compared to this. This one has the white is slightly tinged with this teal-like thing. So now I'm going to start regular folding to get my final mix that should go for this. First fold, because as I said, I want to bring the sea glass more into the white. So instead of folding perfectly, I'm going to fold it a little bit like this. That way the sea glass is going to come more towards the white. The second fold goes pretty much normal. and I'm still not dark enough. So, and still not, this is still a little bit too white. So I'm going to do a strong V-fold this time to bring more of the color there, and I'm going to add a little bit more black. Yes, it does, always. It's, as you said, it's quite amazing. And this time I'm going to be quite even all over it. And now we are going to the final fold and final roll before obtaining the final Skinner blend. So this is just to hasten the mixing the colors. And I want all this white to come all the way in. Why I first fold it before putting it in the machine is because I want a straight edge to go in the machine, so it wouldn't start going like this. I want a straight edge for the rollers to grip. Okay, now I'm going to bring it to a very thin setting so that I can roll it once. And we are nearing the end of this Skinner blend. And first I want to flatten it out. I mean, make it less wide, narrow it down, so that it will have time to widen. Because I want it to widen, because in the end I'm going to get it through the machine thin like this, so I can do a circular plug. Just trying to keep my lines straight here as much as possible. And this should do it. This should be my final. I'm going to thin the setting out a bit. And I'm going to thin it out one more time. Getting back to thick. And then I'm going to first kind of straighten it up a little bit so I can cut it properly. Get the longer one. And I'm going to cut and stack one on top of the other. It should go even a little bit darker, but I just don't want to keep you here till 7 o'clock. Okay? I should add even a little bit more black here, but it's gonna still be beautiful no matter what. Okay, so I got this, and before you get it through the machine, always flatten it, otherwise the pieces will start going like a Y when you're passing it through the machine, will start separating. And I'm going to get this through the machine to a very, very thin setting. There we are. And now I'm going to do a circular Skinner blend plug, not a fan fold, and you need to have the white in the middle. Remember, it's nothing else but a variant of the barbed cane. I'm not going to add white or black on the outside. It's going to go just with its own blend. And my shoulder is hurting a little bit. And that's the left shoulder is the one that I have the adhesive capsulitis on. And you don't want to go much left or right to get the edges over or under, so very careful how you roll here. Okay, so we got the plug. Make sure that I don't have any air trapped. I'm going to go from the middle outwards to chase out any air bubble, and once I did that, I can flatten it again and do this again. Then, exactly like for the regular barbed cane, let me get my eyes. I'm going to cut it in 4. And then I'm going to squish each quarter while bringing the edges a little bit up. Not as much as on a regular barbed cane, just a little bit. What the heck's the ant doing here? We have so many ants here, and I've been trying to put granules outside. I'm gonna have to go tomorrow morning. But whenever we have, you're supposed to have like at least 24 hours, preferably 48 hours of no rain. And we don't have that. So, you see, I didn't bring as much as for the regular barbed cane, just a little bit of the edge brought upwards, just a little bit, and then squished. And make sure you don't, because it's going to have the tendency to get a little bit like an orange slice, you know, a little bit curved when you do this, and you don't want that to happen. Now, by what I can see, the secret of this whole thing is to keep the whole thing uneven when you put them together. So the 4th one, and then flatten, 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 flatten. Okay, now at this point I'm not going to put them together and then reduce, because as I said, by what I can observe here is the fact that they are not even, they are more like in clusters put together, more or less like algae, or I don't know, ponderosa pine or something like that. So what I'm going to do is to actually reduce the whole thing like this first, and I'm going to flip it over so I don't have one side getting over the other side. And each of these quarters will have a different level where the edge was pulled over, because obviously they are not exactly the same. I'm going to try to make them even here though. So this is what I mean by deconstructing, is figuring out how something is done so you can reproduce it. And as this one is just a normal, regular, already known thing, shouldn't be that big of a deal. So now I'm going, this time I am going to put them one on top of the other. And I am going to reduce them. Now see, everything that's on top, when you do go with the roller, will have the tendency to go over the what's on the bottom. Simple physics. And I want it even smaller than that because I'm going to cut it in 6 to get that pretty water-like thingy. I don't know, to me it reminds me of water. I don't know what it reminds you of. To me it feels like water. And I'm trying to keep them still not very wide. Yeah, water, ocean, algae, something. So I'm doing this just for the reduction, not for anything else. So I'm gonna want this to be about 16 inches long. So right now I'm at about 8. So I need to work a little bit longer on it. But you know what? I'm going to cut it to be easier to work with. So I'm going to cut about 4 1/4 inches out of it. And it's useful always to cut with the sharp end of the blade, not with the dull end. Seagrass, yeah, I guess the color is sea glass and the pattern is sea grass. Nice pun. Okay, almost there. That should be good. Okay, at this point I'm about almost 7 inches. At this point I'm going to cut it, and I'm not going to even be very careful about, so let me see exactly. So I have 6, 8. I hold the finger here, not on the ruler. So almost 7 inches on this. A little bit over 7 inches. Let's do the same thing on this one. Now at this point what I'm going to do, I'm going to start pinching on both ends. Now I don't know, I didn't do this before, so this is what my mind tells me that should be done like. That if I do this, I'm going to get that result. I might not have enough white. That's a possibility. Okay, and let's do this one too. So I'm pinching both ends. And pinch flat, don't pinch by bringing the edges over, just pinch flat. All right. To get the better pinching, I'm just going to do this. Because this one is You know, it's got a little bit of a bevel, so, but you don't want the rest to be very even, because by what I see, the randomness is the secret of this game. Now let's see what length we have. This one needs a little bit longer. And we have now, so let me bring them to 9, because it's easier to cut in 3. So I do have a longer ruler somewhere, but okay, 9. I'm good. Now I'm gonna cut it in 3-inch segments, 1.5 inch segments, so I'm gonna have more than 3, or I should cut them in 3 segments so to be easier to explain actually. And they're not equal. That's fine. Randomness, as I said, randomness is queen in this game. So randomness about the size of the, they all have to be the same way, the size, the thickness and length of these pieces. Okay, this one. So I'm going this time put them together. Oh no, you please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Oh, he wants to go outside. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take a few minutes, because if I don't, he's going to pee in the house. Excuse me just a little bit. Yes, we go pee, come on. Come on. Come on. I am so sorry. I wanted to get him out before the live, but he didn't want to go. So he hasn't been out for like 2.5 hours or something like that. Okay. Now I'm going to cut each of these 3 inches into, I'm going to actually let's first reduce it some more. Back to 6 inches. Because if you notice here, you have some that are more forward and some that are less forward. So they're gonna have to be set like this. Yeah, this is a set. You can find it, I think it's in tools in the influencer store. It's one that's 10 or 12 inches and this one that's 6 inches. And the 10 or 12 inches I always lose somewhere, because I can measure more stuff with it than with this little 6 inches. And again, flip it over, because otherwise the part that's on top is going to want to, well, let's go again for 9 inches. That should be better. And this time I'm going to cut in 1.5 inches length pieces. Let's see, 6. Perfect. Okay, so once again, pinch, 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 pinch. And pinch, pinch, pinch. And after this I'm going to check on Whisper because it's very hot outside and he's sensitive to heat. Just a second. The dog run is on the west side of the house, so that means that the sun is on it, on the dog, and in front on the door. And in front of the door I have a pad of concrete, and unfortunately that means that that concrete is getting very, very hot. And I've been looking for, you know, there's a paint that's used for the concrete around pools so that it wouldn't get too hot. Hi, Chris. And unfortunately, I cannot find it anywhere. The smallest drums they have are like 10 gallons. I just took it when I went to let Whisper out. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for remembering. Okay, I'm gonna go for 12. Because the more the merrier. Let's see actually how thin these are. They look just perfect. Alrighty, but again, I think that I should have gone with the darker. So I have 12. I have 12. So let's go for 1.5 inches. I don't want to go for 1 because it's going to be too small. And now we're gonna put them together, kind of not being very attentive. Here I'm putting one lower and one lower, but not that low. It doesn't have enough contrast as that one, so I definitely need the color stronger, darker. But this is definitely the way of doing it. Just working on the colors some more. Let me go a little bit lower. this one, and one more here. So cut it in half. Yeah, and I think it doesn't need to be this reduced, less reduced. It's still going to look pretty. It's more refined than this one, but definitely needs more contrast. Alrighty. There we go. Now let's cut it. Let me get the cane cutter. So don't reduce this much and make the combination with more dark. Definitely needs more contrast. This one is way too delicate. It doesn't have to be this delicate. By reducing so much, I guess you're losing the lines, the definition of the lines. It's not looking too good, and don't get them so far out. I guess that what's done here, it's pretty much this, more like this, but definitely not so reduced. The lines need to be thicker and it needs more contrast. It's not bad, but it doesn't have as much definition as the original one. I'm actually wondering if it cannot be done backwards. Huh. I think I'm going to try it backwards as well, with the white on the outside and then pulled in, but definitely not so, let me zoom in, not so much reduced. That was a reduction mistake, and I think that it's done backwards again, and not so many lines at once. See, I think that these are more defined than the blacks, so definitely with the dark side inside and then put in the other way, with the dark side inside and the white pulled over, and then placed it in the other way, and not so reduced. These are actually, this is not too bad. It's an interesting cane, but not what I was looking for. So yeah, I can do flops, only it's an interesting cane. You can do a lot of stuff with it. And what I would do with this one, I would go for a more or less checkerboard type, using, and I'll show you exactly what I mean here in a second. Let me actually cut another slice. I think it would look great in a Bargello and in a checkerboard. Let's do a little bit of a checkerboard. And this would be nice with several colors. Actually, it would be great. Several colors of these. Just a second. So if I would go, just the experiment, let me see if they are. Okay, so guys, this 1 inch by 1 inch, I can get 1.5, so let's go 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Quarters of an inch, and then three-quarters of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Let's do the same thing with the white. Not perfect, but it's just to give you the idea of how to do it. Okay, so I got the whites. Now let's trim this one. Let's do this one too, so I have enough squares. Hey, Lynette. Right, and 3/4. 3/4. Now let's see how it looks like. And let me think it over. I'm going to get to show you here in a minute. I'm trying to figure out how to position these. Okay, so if I start with this white, then I move one over, this white, and again one over, this obviously white, color. There we go. Should look pretty nifty on something. And to do the Bargello, let me grab the leftovers. And to do a Bargello out of it would go mirror. Makes a great marble, that's for sure. I'll stay there. Let me zoom in so I can see better what I'm doing. It was a beautiful Bargello. Okay, pretty strong. Darn it, I put one wrong. It still looks gorgeous in Bargello. Love it in Bargello. And then you can make it look like beads. Looks like mosaic, pretty much. So if you give it a, hi Gail, if you give it a little bit of, hold on, mosaic stuff, let me grab a little bit of plastic wrap. Oh, come on, I only need a little sliver. Okay, so I messed up a little bit, but that's fine. It's not going to be a disaster. See, it really looks like a water mosaic. So if you go on top of it and give it some more mosaic, hi Karen, more mosaic look, simply by fantastic. See, stuff that you discover, serendipity. I get a lot of serendipity in my life. Something doesn't come up right, but when I'm trying to do something else with it, it comes up even more beautiful than I thought. Look at this. It's absolutely fabulous. Let me go out of zoom and in focus better. That's going to make you be able to see much better. Look at this. It's just fabulous. I think I'm gonna make a few pieces of jewelry. Oh, with this, it makes everything look super delicate, very mosaic-y, and these little lines are fabulous. Okay, that's what's going to happen, and I'm going to keep trying to remake this because Deborah wanted it so bad. I'm going to keep trying. I'm wondering if I shouldn't already pre-mix the sea glass with black. I just don't have, I don't think I have any black souffle left. I'm gonna have to buy some because I don't like to mix Premo in souffle. It gives a different touchy-feely thing. But I'm going to try to do it backwards, and then I'm going to try to do it with simple stacking. See how that works. I'm gonna figure out how this is made. Don't send me links, please. Don't send me links that if you find it anywhere, don't send me links. I don't want to. I want to figure it out by myself. Okay, so you'll see it's going to be a little bit of a difficult week for me, because if you remember, I said that I threw away a week's worth of pain pills. So until Thursday, I did keep a few to have for lives and stuff, but I do have kratom to take, but kratom doesn't cover the pain as good as these other ones do. Because in order to cover my pain properly, I would just sleep all day, and I don't want to get there. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult till Thursday when I have my doctor's appointment, and after that it's going to be easier. But I'm still going to try to do as much as I can before Thursday. Okay, and hopefully I'll be able to finish because I promised you a flower tutorial where these tools are used, and it's going to have a giveaway of one set. I actually have two sets for giveaway, so we'll have another one a little bit later with the second set. And then I have one more thing to do, and we'll have another giveaway. I have a $100 gift certificate for PolyClay play again. But yeah, then I had my I guess the pain management doctor, spine and pain management doctor, I went and I got a shot in the shoulder, but he did it in a different spot. He did it, let me show you. So he did it like this here, while the orthopedist is doing it here. And it doesn't seem to have helped as much as the one done by the orthopedist. I might have to go a month from now and just tell him to give it the shot like this, because I needed two shots actually from the orthopedist. If you remember, I did one at the end of November and then the other one at the end of December, because the way that things are in Oklahoma, I don't dare go to the orthopedics clinic. It's too many patients. It's a big, huge clinic. Yeah, this would work beautiful for a sky background, but it's very, very mosaic-y, and I just love it. Serendipity, as I said. Okay, and I'll try to make, because a lot of people told me we don't really need only tutorials. You can do unboxing. We just want to know what's going on and what did you think and what did you do and what. I don't want to do a vlog out of my channel, but I think I can just keep up and keep in touch more. I'm not gonna do on YouTube most likely. I'm gonna do it more on Facebook, because Facebook is more like it. Not, I want to keep more serious my YouTube channel. But anyway, I'll see you next Sunday, and hopefully I'll be able to finish that flower tutorial to upload this week, and we'll have that giveaway. Now remember, it's going to be uploaded on Facebook. The giveaway will be on Facebook, and I will announce it in the community tab on YouTube here. But I don't know, maybe I'll do one, because I have 2 sets. Maybe I'll do a giveaway on Facebook and a giveaway on YouTube. We'll see. Let me be able to do the tutorial first. Okay, see y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you just discovered my channel, and I'll see you all next Sunday. Goodbye.